Hello and welcome to Mortality with Meep. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to use the CDC Wonder database for underlying cause of death, and that's the only one I'm going to demonstrate. And I'm using the 1999 to 2019 database using bridged race categories, and then you have to agree to some stuff. Before I begin, I want to let you know I am editing out all of the load times when I do the queries. Some of these take a long time, so I don't want to have any complaints like, it took me 30 seconds, it took me a minute before I got the full results. Yes, I know. Some of these queries can take a long time before they resolve. We don't need to be sitting around on YouTube doing that. So I'm actually just going to start out very simple. I'm going to use all of the default settings just so you can see how this works. And I click send. Okay, so when you do this, so I have 4 census regions, Northeast, Midwest, South, and West. That's all of them. And I'm seeing 53 million deaths out of 6.4 billion people. What the heck is going on here? Well, we go down here and you get the query info. So I'm grouping by census regions, showing totals true, 0 false, I'm doing rates, etc., etc. What happened here is that I didn't say I needed to aggregate by year or that I wanted a specific year. This is all of the years, and that's 21 years of deaths. So the population is just adding up the total population for that entire period and all the deaths. So yeah, over a 21-year period, there's a lot of deaths. If you want to go back, we can just click on request form and you'll see there are things along the top. You can get a map. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't get a map. Oh well, but I don't want to. Let's start out with something easy. I want the total deaths, all causes, by year. Now I could do year and month, but let's just start with year. Okay, so now we see how that 6.4 billion people and the 53 million deaths break out, and we can see what this crude rate is doing. So let's go to our chart, and now we can see this is our default chart. We can make other charts. So this is kind of nice. I put it in, I just want to do the crude rate, and we see the crude rate went down and then it's been going up. And a lot of this does have to do with the aging of the population in general. So we can see how this is going by year. Let's do age groups. Go back to the request form and then I see year. Let's do age groups. And I'm going to do the 5-year age group are too many. Let's do the 10-year age groups. Want to send? Okay, so first we get the year, then we get the age group. And yeah, we can see this. This is very nice. Maybe I don't like the totals. If I do quick options, I can hide the totals rows. There are no 0 rows, which is fine. I can show all row labels, and that will make the 1999 like this as opposed to kind of merged over a cell. Makes things a little easier when we export. And if I put in row numbers, again, it helps when you're talking to people. You're like, okay, we want row 40, which is 2002, age 15 to 24. Well, let's see what we can get from a chart. So I don't really like this bar chart. You can see that it's mainly that you see that red bar here, and it's hard to see. It's like year and 10-year age groups, okay, and it's the crude rate, and of course the largest bar, don't really like that one. So I'm going to change it to a line chart, and then I'm going to change the plot orientation to vertical, and I'm going to change the chart. Let's see how well this works. Oh dear God. Yeah, I'm not really happy about this. It's impossible really to look at. So, in general, when I'm dealing with the Wonder database, I just export the results. So let me go back to the results tab. I'm not going to use the charting anymore. And I will click export. Now, when you export it, it will go to a text file. I'm going to open this in, let's see if it's going to give me a choice of what to open it in. Okay, it opens in Notepad, which is what I have it as my default. And you'll see that this is actually like a tab. I think it's a tab separated values file. It'll be a .txt, but there are quotes around things that are basically categories as opposed to numbers. So note that the year and the year code are not numbers. See, the numbers don't have quotes around them. They're strings. If I want to open this in Excel, so here we have our text file. I'm just going to click open. I'll just say open. And it will, as a default, okay, we see, okay, I'm going to say it's delimited. And it seems to be doing this properly. It does have tabs, evidently. And the text qualifier is the quotes. So that looks good. I'm going to finish it. It did actually change all of these years because they did turn out to be all numbers. These are all numbers as opposed to strings like you see here. And here's the problem. This was the string 1 to 4. It got imported as a date, January 4th, and then it put it in this year, 2021. This is a problem with importing, importing these things that there's really no good way of getting around it other than using, well, something other than Excel. But they have been automatically doing these things. I would do probably a search and replace. There's only 2 things here. It's not ideal. And usually what I do is I'll turn this into a pivot table. And you'll see there's all of the info down here. And it will tell you what were your queries that got you this. Okay. So back to this form, again, we want to make sure we understand what we're looking at and what it aggregates by. I'm going to change this one to 5-year age groups. I'm going to get rid of this one. But what I'm going to do for aggregation next, I want, so we have our different causes. And if I do the 113 cause list, it's going to exclude all the things that are not in those causes. But I believe the 113 cause list is comprehensive. So let's do that. And then I'm just going to pick 1 year. Note there are various sections. So first you say what you want to aggregate by. But like say note I didn't aggregate by year. That's because I'm going to pick a single year. Similarly, I could pick a specific state. I could get into different, and you'll see there's different small metro, medium metro, that sort of thing that you can pick. I'm picking all ages. For one of the ones that I had before, a lot of times I exclude not stated, but you'll see the 5-year age groups are selected here because I said I am aggregating by the 5-year age groups. Now, I'm just going to pick 2019. I mean, you can pick more than 1 year, but I'm just picking 2019. Notice you can do place of death. You can do whether or not there was an autopsy, and you can find out how many autopsies are actually done. And then here are our ICD. These are cause of death codes. And I am going to let this thing rip in a moment because it's all of them. And notice there's this send button. Doesn't matter if you select anything, it will then process your request. Okay, so these are causes of death, and the ones where there's 0 people who died in that particular bucket, they don't list it. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of stuff here. Now I can put back the ones with 0 so that I have like a complete table. But when I'm doing something like this, and you'll notice it tells you which codes they are using for these different deaths. So let me go back to my request form. I was allowing all types of causes, but what if I just want the ones in the category external causes of morbidity and mortality? So I've just selected that. It's not going to do any of the other ones. Okay, so what we have and note that some of these are subcategories of others. So these are not exclusive categories. So notice accidents, unintentional injuries. This is V01 to X59, Y85 to Y86. Well, you see transport accidents, and yes, 75 and under 1 year is considered infant mortality. So 75 babies died in 2019 due to transport accidents. And then there's a subcategory. So we have motor vehicle accidents. That was 74 of them. And then there's other land transport. Non-transport, so falls, accidental discharge of firearms. So that is distinguished from homicides and suicides. So let me go to an older age group. Let's go to the other end. Here we go, 85 to 89. So we have accidents, so that's almost 11,000. Non-transport accidents, so that's a subset. Notice transport accidents are very small, but falls is very large for this age group. This is why I picked this one, because I knew that falls, you can say accidental deaths were up for seniors, but you need to know what's an accidental death. Well, one of the accidental deaths is falling, and that does, that's mainly older people who die from that. They have other accidents that we don't know anything about. We have suicides, and we even have suicide by some of the method. We have homicides, so some died from homicide, but not a lot of them. Legal intervention, yes, they do distinguish between a cop killing you and, someone else shooting you. So there's various things in here, operations of war, and there's sequelae, complications from medical and surgical care. So that's an accidental type of death, that we'd really like to keep an eye on. So here's for 80 to 84. Now I have it in this order. What if I want to change the order? This is kind of annoying, but the best way to change the table is to change the order here in the group by results. So if I have the causes first, and you can't double up, it'll give you an error message if you do that. Then 10-year age groups, let's do that. And all the other items are selected as they were selected. You have to clear the whole thing if you want to do more. Okay, so we're going to start with causes, and then we have the ages. So accidents, and we can see accidents, unintentional injuries, which were up in 2020, by the way. We can see how it broke out by age group. But if I want to get into the subcategories like transport accidents, well, we see it's younger adults who die most often, 15 to 24 and 25 to 34, that we have the biggest numbers. Note they'll have an estimated population for each of these groups and then a crude rate. So in general, we want to actually compare the rates. So the highest rate we see for transport accidents, 15.7, 25 to 34, but you'll see the rate is actually pretty high for those 75 to 84 and over age 85. So that's something to think about. And we see that again with motor vehicle accidents, a lot of older people dying from those. And it's not even in their top 10 causes, if I remember correctly, because so many other things like cancer and heart disease are killing them. Well, take a look at the rates for falls. It is ginormous for those age over 85, 276. And remember, this is out of 100,000. So 1,000 out of 100,000 would be a 1% rate. So this is a 0.3% rate, basically. It's not, you'll see non-transport accidents, that's what falls are under. We can see accidental discharge of firearms. There's really not that many deaths from that. We have drowning. Note that the drowning, accidental drowning, is highest for those age 1 to 4. accidental exposure to smoke, so we can see a lot of different things. And now I didn't split this out by sex, but one of the things you'll notice for the crude rate for suicide, the highest is for the oldest age group. If I split this out by sex and age, you would really see a difference. I'm not doing that right now. And then they do it by different types. We have, homicide. So gun homicide, and this is interesting, the highest rate is 15 to 24, and then it goes down with increasing age. And again, if we pull this out by sex, there would be a huge gap. I'm not sure if it's as big a gap as suicide. Anyway, so you can group these in different ways. In general, this system is not good if you're trying to chart it. You saw the results from the charting. That was awful. Let me just show you a few other things that you can group by. I just showed you can do it by cause. Actually, I'm going to put the 10-year age groups now. I'm just going to get rid of that. Let us do place of death, because that one's kind of interesting. Now, I still have it on 2019. I still have it on accidental. I kind of like that. So accidental, but I'm going to pick the 85 plus year group. So just the oldest group. I want to look at their accidental deaths. Okay. So it's actually got this in order of the cause list. I can change the ordering. So I clicked on the deaths and then the arrow so that it's going down biggest to smallest. Now, obviously, the categories are going to show up pretty big. So accidents are the biggest one out of these external causes. And medical facility inpatient, that's kind of interesting. That's where they have, and it's non-transport accidents, which is hardly surprising. And a sub of that is falls. So old people falling like in a hospital, and that's listed as their cause of death. That's not great. We have hospice, and so we have falls in a hospice. So we can kind of see, you've kind of got to be careful about some of these. Let's see if I can change this. As before, I'm going to change place of death, and then I'm going to do cause of death. I'm not going to do the cause list because it gives too many things. Now I could do subchapter, but I'm going to do just cause of death. Now you'll see with the default table, we're getting them in order. I don't have any of the 0 rows, which is just fine, but this is detailed cause of death. It gets really detailed. Okay, here we go. So we have unspecified falls, and these are independent. So notice these are the codes 19 and 18. And we can see that for accidental causes of death, basically, falls are really big. Remember, this is 85 plus. I'm grouping by place of death and cause of death. So this is really detailed cause of death. So you have unspecified fall, and then other fall on same level. And where you mean, like, what do you mean other fall on same level? Well, there's falling, you're standing on the ground and you fall. And then there's falling from a second story from a building, okay? Those are different kinds of things. But what's interesting is inhalation and ingestion of other objects causing obstruction of respiratory tract. I would not have guessed that would have been pretty high. But you can see a lot of these deaths are at hospice or in medical facility inpatient, so probably a hospital, and a nursing home or long-term care, and we have basically a lot of falls. That has been increasing. I do want to be careful with saying, the fall kills you. And yeah, a fall can absolutely kill someone who is frail. But it may also be indicating other things that are going on. So here's a different kind of fall. Fall on and from stairs and steps. Now, the thing is, a lot of these are unspecified, so we don't know. Did they fall out of their hospital bed? Were they trying to walk around and fall? But you'll notice, like, all of these, the very, very top are falls. Fall involving a wheelchair. You get an idea of how detailed some of these are. So for my last one, I'm going to get rid of place of death. We're going to do the ICD subchapter and then cause of death. And I am interested in deaths, let's see, in a nursing home. Okay, so we've got year is 2019. It's external causes of morbidity and mortality in a nursing home and age 85 plus years. So I'm going to send that one. And again, it's ordering by the subchapter. I want to order it by number of deaths, and I keep forgetting to get rid of the totals rows. So now we can kind of see how these things are organized. And we can see a lot of these are other external causes of accidental injury. We have a few that's sequelae, but a lot of these are very, very detailed, and it's just one person. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we want something, if we're thinking about preventing deaths, and that's one of the reasons we come up with the ultimate cause of death. We have unspecified fall, other fall from same level, exposure to unspecified factor causing fracture. So maybe they fell, or maybe there was some other injury. So again, this could be all sorts of things, inhaling or ingestion of other objects, and that could be their own, it could be food and having a problem. But, when we get to these kind of external causes, not a lot of these, in contact with agricultural machinery. So you can see with some of these things, so there's assault, there's intentional self-harm, but there's also kind of like medical issues, medical problems, and you get a few if you're interested in these kind of things. So there's a lot of different things you can dig into. I did not dig into any of the geographic ones. In general, I don't care. I didn't do age-adjusted death rates at this point. A lot of people have trouble with that, and I do want to explain what age-adjusted death rates are, because you get different rates based on, let me see if I can find it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you click on age-adjusted rate, then you can pick the population you're using. So you could use the 1940, and you'll get the same trends, but different numbers. I'll show that a different time. So lots of cool stuff. Go do some of your own exploration. People ask, oh, with this and that. Well, you can do that. You can pick, I'm just interested in motor vehicle accidents. You can group by year, you can do age and sex, you could do state, you can do different regions, and test your own theories on what trends are going on. In general, you do want to look at rates. If you're looking at the population as a whole, age-adjusted rates are good, but I'm going to show that another time, because there's all sorts of weird stuff that can come when you're doing basically a weighted average, which is what an age-adjusted death rate is. Okay, see ya.